welcome to the rabbit hole. Okay, it's not the rabbit hole. I'm kind of in between burrows at the moment, but nonetheless, welcome to the temporary rabbit hole, where we unearth Disney gems and bury Disney duds. When you think of famous American battles, which ones come to mind? General Custer's Last Stand, Battle of Gettysburg. How about the Battle of the Alamo?
Yes, the Alamo, the famous San Antonio fort guarded by Texan settlers who in 1836 fought against the Mexican army led by General Santa Anna to retain their hold on Texan settlements.
And fighting among those brave men was none other than the famous, iconic folklore legend, Davy Crockett.
Davy Crockett, king of the wild frontier.
For those of you who've never heard of him, Davy Crockett was an American frontiersman made famous for his grand and often exaggerated exploits around the eastern frontier, most of which involved his encounters with bandits, animals, and Native Americans. He served as a colonel in the military before later becoming a U.S. representative, and was later killed in battle while defending the Alamo. Since then, his legend grew and was often retold in books, plays, and even a few silent films. The most famous retelling, however, was the 1954 to 1955 mini-TV series done by Walt Disney, which was later edited into a movie titled Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier. Although it was only 3 episodes long at the time, the series was a huge hit and was credited with renewing interest in folklore characters along with the history of the Alamo. It also popularized Crockett's trademark coonskin hat, which has now become largely associated with the frontiersman.
It's been about 50 years since Walt Disney brought the story of Davy Crockett to life, and one wonders, does it still hold up today? Well, everyone, break out your coonskin hats. We're about to dive into the adventures of Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier. What? I don't own a coonskin hat. Besides, Jack stole my good one.
So the credits start, and you're immediately greeted with the movie's defining theme song.
Born on a mountaintop in Tennessee, green estate in the land of the free, raised in the woods so he knew every tree, killed him a bar when he was only 3.
So the movie starts in 1813 as the military, led by future President Andrew Jackson, are leading the never-ending battle to force Indians off their land and into signing peace treaties that the Americans would later on betray. Here we meet Davy, played by Fess Parker. Here Davy is not a colonel, but a volunteer scout who was sent by the military to track Indians, hunt wild game, and grin at bears.
I was figuring on grinning him to death, but this here stumble-footed mate of yours come along and busted up my concentrate.
Grin him to death? What in thunderation is that?
Oh, it's something I've been experimenting with. You see, there's nothing so absolutely unresistible as an old-fashioned good-natured grin. Like this. I started out on coons. I got so good at it one day an old coon throwed up his hands the minute he seen my teeth. "You got me, Davy," he hollered, and he skinned down that tree and plopped himself in my sack before I knowed what was up. I figured the same thing ought to work on bars, but I never got a chance to find out.
Wonder if that actually works. All right, Mr. Bear, prepare to meet your maker. Damn it, Crockett, you lied to me!
So after killing a poor, helpless bear rug, Davy and his best friend Georgie Russell, played by Buddy Epps in pre-Beverly Hillbillies, are sent by General Jackson to go seek out the Indians with the help of his second-in-command, Major Norton. Along the way, however, Norton decides that rather than sneaking through the forests and swamps to find the Indian camps, he'd much rather march his blue jacket-wearing troops out on the wide-open dirt path where they can easily be spotted and taken off guard.
You've done nothing but lead us through swamps, cane brakes, and briar patches all day. I see a trail over there, and there's no sense in not taking it.
How did this guy get to the level of Major?
Davy and Russell split off from the rest and eventually find the Indian camps where the young Chief Red Stick is gearing up for battle. The two try to make their way back to Norton, but surprise, surprise, find the troops are being ambushed by the Indians. Gee, who didn't see that coming? One thing you'll notice about this scene, as well as other fight scenes to come, is that the stunt choreography is dreadful. Every person that gets shot either has a delayed reaction or does some over-the-top move that usually ends with them falling into the water. Why do I get the feeling it was just hot out when they were filming and the actors were looking for any excuse to cool off?
How are you beating the heat, Ollie? Swimming hole!
Luckily, Davy and Russell managed to fool the Indians into retreating by using the old Crockett charge.
We got him on the run, men!
Company B, close up!
And it's not just the Indians who get fooled either.
He's the general and the whole regiment!
Company A reporting, Major.
Here's the rest of us, Major.
Company B reporting, Major.
You mean just 2 of you? Well, 2 was enough, wasn't it?
After informing General Jackson of the Indians' location, Davy and the military go off to ambush the tribe, leading to more gun battles and over-the-top falling shots. Damn these old-fashioned reloadable rifles! Stupid corncob pipe! You let them escape!
Got away, didn't he?
Yeah, but a lot of them didn't.
Much obliged for saving my scalp. Calculating Mrs. Crockett might have a kiss for you when we get home.
Among other things.
So even though the military had won the battle, General Jackson insists on tracking down Red Stick. However, Davy and Russell have their own plans.
Dropped in to say goodbye.
Goodbye. Where do you think you're going?
Home?
You're going after Red Stick with the rest of my command. This war isn't over yet.
Oh, we ain't quitting the war. Me and my neighbors will be back directly. You see, General, we only volunteered for 60 days, and that's long since up. Catching Red Stick's liable to take up the rest of the year. We got to see that our families is took care of before we start out on anything like that.
You're confined to this camp. That's an order.
Dude, you can't order a volunteer to stay. Heck, you're lucky they didn't abandon your ass during that whole Indian fiasco.
So Davy disobeys orders and goes to leave camp when he's met with resistance.
Halt!
Dude, what the fuck?
I'm warning you, Crockett. Turn back.
Now, Major, you know we're going home.
Prepare to fire.
You will forcibly help us, or by God, we'll blow you to kingdom come!
A bit extreme, don't you think, Norton? Especially since these two seem to be your best asset at this point in the war. Of course, Davy doesn't take any of his shit and merely walks right past him.
Bring us some bar meat back when you come, Davy.
Sure. Anything you want, Major?
Lamest bunch of volunteers I ever saw. When they volunteer to fight, they fight. When they volunteer to go home, they go home.
Davy then heads back home to his wife and 2 kids, where Russell decides to get his dues.
Well, reckon now's as good a time as any to collect what I got coming.
Dude, Davy's right there! At least hold back on the tongue.
Georgie Russell, what happened to you while you've been gone?
Well, Davy allowed us how I had a kiss coming for saving his life.
He sure did.
Well, in that case...
Whoa. I think Russell and the missus got a little more going on, if you know what I mean.
You ain't never gonna get a woman that way. Reckon I gotta learn you how.
Davy Crockett, getting some hot nookie. So Davy and the missus get reacquainted after their long absence apart, but sadly Davy says he can't stay. Cut to later on, Davy and Russell have rejoined the troops, which have been tracking Red Stick throughout the Florida swamps, where things are not looking too good.
I'm at my wit's end. Most of my men are down with swamp fever. I'm afraid I've got a touch of it, too.
What about Red Stick? You still chasing him?
It's a question of who's chasing who. Every patrol I've sent out has failed to come back. You can't have many warriors left. If we could just locate them, but they can hide forever in this infernal swamp.
Me and Russell will rest it up a mite. It's only fair we take a cut at it.
No, that Indian has cost us enough lives already. I refuse to let you 2 go out alone.
Did you forget that these 2 almost single-handedly saved your ass from a group of attacking Indians? I think they can handle themselves.
Looks like we'll have to start disobeying orders again.
So Davy and Russell head out to the swamp, where they make their way past dangerous stock footage of alligators.
Baby gators. Kinda cute, ain't they?
Eee, I'm more scared of snakes and gators than I am of Injuns.
They quickly pick up on the Indians' trail and decide to split up to cover more ground. Okay, first off, had that guy thrown the tomahawk correctly, that thing would have embedded itself in Russell's back, killing him instantly. Second, even if the blade wasn't sharpened, which it is shown to be, he threw it at the guy's back, not his head, so how the hell did he knock him out? Was the tomahawk really that hard, or is Russell as vulnerable to hammers as Mario? So instead of scalping Russell, the Indians decide to kidnap him instead, prompting Davy to go rescue his friend. Which leads to this very interesting encounter. Seriously not afford to rent a stuffed alligator, or at least have a guy in an alligator suit? This makes the alligator scenes from Ace Ventura, Happy Gilmore, and Joe Dirt look believable. Davy Crockett, beating up stock footage. Anyways, Davy then tracks the Indians to their camping ground just as they're about to entice Russell with red-hot pokers. What follows is perhaps the most insulting passing of dialogue toward Native Americans in any Disney movie thus far.
Greek warriors, hear me!
Holy shit!
Well, I ain't a soldier. I'm a settler. I'm a hunter like you.
Who randomly throws knives at people?
Hunter? You hunt Indians?
Only because you made war on us.
They made war on you. Wow, there is so much wrong with that statement.
Your chiefs, the smart ones, have give up. They found out that war is no good.
No, they gave up because the white man forced them to by committing mass genocide on their tribes.
You're brave, Red Stick, and your warriors is brave. But in the end, they're all going to die because you're a bad chief.
No. They're all gonna die because stupid white men like you keep driving them out of their territory instead of allowing them the land that is rightfully theirs. Seriously, I'm not even Native American and I find this fucking offensive.
So as per Indian customs, Davy challenges Red Stick to a duel, and the two have a fight with tomahawks to the death. I find this fight to have a lot better choreography than previous scenes, although some of the positions they get into get rather suggestive. And look, we even see Davy try to grin him down like he did with that bear.
Hey, baby.
Well, it worked on a bar.
But eventually Davy comes out on top, and instead of killing Red Stick, asks him and his men to free Russell and sign the peace treaty.
Join the other chiefs in the treaty. Do that, and I promise the government will let you go back and live in peace on your own lands.
Promise is no good. White government lie.
Davy Crockett don't lie.
Because Davy Crockett controls the thoughts and actions of an entire U.S. government. Oh wait, no he can't. I guess Davy Crockett does lie after all.
Why you no kill me?
Maybe because of another law. We have trouble living up to it. Ain't bad for red man or white man alike. Thou shalt not kill.
Really? Because you had no problem killing that guy about 10 minutes ago. Or that guy. Or that guy. Or those guys. Or those guys. Seriously, Davy, you ever heard the term practice what you preach?
So despite being an ignorant, insulting, and murderous jerk, Red Stick releases Russell and agrees to sign the peace treaty, effectively ending the war and dooming the Indians to poverty and reservations later down the line. Time passes, and we move on to what was once considered Episode 2 in the Davy Crockett saga. Davy leaves home in search of land to build a new house on for his family, and comes across a small settler village which is auctioning off land. Here the only way to decide who gets to claim land is not by how much money they have, but by how well they shoot. Davy goes up against a guy named Bigfoot, and the two have a shooting contest to see who claims the latest plot of land.
Dead center for Bigfoot. This one's dead center too. You'll have to fire another round.
Ah, you was lucky.
Davy wins, of course, and does so a la Robin Hood style by managing to shoot one bullet on top of another, without somehow shattering it. While building his new house, Davy and Russell discover their Indian neighbor Charlie Two Shirts and his family have been driven off their land by Bigfoot, who has been doing the same thing to the other Indians and reselling their land to new settlers. Seeing the injustice, Davy decides to become the new town magistrate and put Bigfoot in his place. The three men go to confront Bigfoot, who refuses to back down, so Davy challenges him to a fist fight. Let the Star Trek fight music begin. Davy emerges triumphant and sends Bigfoot and his men off to await trial. The town celebrates and is so grateful to Davy that they want him to run for state legislator. Davy at first refuses, seeing as he's just a hunter with no political background, but after learning that his opposition is trying to get Bigfoot acquitted, he decides to take up the job. But just as things are looking up for Davy, some bad news arrives.
Dear David, I take my pen in hand to tell you some very sad news. Your beloved Polly was took down with a fever and died in spite of all we could do. Don't worry about the boys. They are living with us and getting along fine. Little ones need a mother, and already they seem like my own. We know you are suffering the greatest loss a man can endure, but the good Lord knows best. Your loving sister-in-law.
Wow, that sucks. So wait, if they were going to kill off the wife and get rid of the kids in the second episode, why did they even include them to begin with? It's not like they served a purpose to the story other than prompting Davy to leave the army for a bit and go to that town. Also, is it just me, or does it seem rather convenient that his family was off to this point? I mean, think about it. He was hesitant to become magistrate and legislator because he had to take care of his family first. And now that his wife's dead and his kids are being taken care of by a relative, he's now free to campaign and pretty much do what he wants. Strange. It seems even when bad things happen to Davy, he still comes out on top. So with Davy free of the burden that was his family, Davy starts his campaign against Amos Throp for state legislator.
My honorable opponent knows I ain't much shucks at speech fine. It's mighty kind of him to let me get up and speak first so he can make a lie out of everything I say. Truth is, I don't know nothing at all about politics. I'll leave that up to him. But I do know the woods and the folks in them. And if you send me to Nashville, I'll represent you as honest as I can.
Hooray for Davy!
Of course, Davy wins, and from here on out, the whole portion of the movie is dedicated to Davy's growing political career and how he's slowly climbing up the political ladder. Pretty much every scene is either him campaigning or making a long, dull speech.
Some congressmen take pride in saying a lot about nothing, like I'm doing right now. Others don't do nothing for their pay, but just listen, day in and day out.
Ugh, I hate these boring political speeches. I'm gonna drink some water while I listen to them.
My father can lick any man in Kentucky, and I can lick my father.
And before you ask, no, that wasn't a made-up line for the movie. That is an actual quote from the real Davy Crockett. A few years pass and the now President Jackson is into a second term in office, and it seems good old Jackson has some interesting ideas on how to expand the nation by pretty much betraying the treaty made with the Indians and taking back the land originally promised to them, forcing them even further out west and depriving them of all rights and liberty. Yep, who didn't see that one coming? And because Davy is the strongest supporter of Indian rights, Jackson sends Major Norton, now a campaign manager, to distract Davy by making him travel around to campaign himself as the next president. Dear God, why don't you just elect Davy the next Jesus and skip the boring political crap already? Luckily, Russell alerts Davy to Norton's plan, and the two make a mad dash back to Washington to stop the new Indian bill from going through.
Davy, I didn't expect you back for a week.
I know.
Now, Davy, if you're worried about the Indian bill, it's all over. They've already passed it.
They'll have to change their minds.
I'm warning you, Crockett. Go in there and you're committing political suicide.
You know what I think about your kind of politics?
I yield to the gentleman from Tennessee.
Mr. Speaker, fellow members of the Congress of these United States, I've stood before you a good many times in fights and fun. and we've had a laugh or two for the good of the country and our own digestions. But you can fold up your grins and put them away, for you'll hear no jokes from Davy Crockett today. You have before you something called an Indian bill. I don't aim to keep you here much longer arguing about it. You've had enough of that already. You wouldn't be doing the settlers no good voting for this bill. You'd only be making rich men out of the land grabbers and speculators that have been trying to get it passed. It's nobody's fault but our own if a bill like this gets passed. We got a responsibility to this strapping, fun-loving, britches-busting young bar cub of a country. We got a responsibility to help it grow into the kind of nation the good Lord meant it to be. If we riled up and showed that we were the kind of men our friends and neighbors figured we was when they sent us here, a bill like this would never live long enough to even get on our desk, let alone come to a vote.
Yes, yes, good show, old boy. Now back to passing that bill.
So with his political career over, Davy and Russell leave Washington for good and head out for the western border, leading us into the third and final act of the film. While sailing down the Mississippi to their next adventure, Davy picks a very interesting destination.
Texas independence threatened. General Santa Anna vows to expel settlers.
Texas? Why, we got the whole tarnal country to choose from, and you gotta pick... Well, there's nothing there but a mess of trouble. A bunch of crazy fools trying to take on a whole army. They're so far away from the rest of the country, they know they ain't gonna get no help. How soon you reckon we'll be headed out that way?
Right after we get to Little Rock?
Wait a minute. They're getting to the part with the Alamo already? But this is only the third episode, right? Wasn't the original purpose of Davy Crockett to become an ongoing TV show? I mean, granted, this is when TV shows first started, so obviously no one had quite grasped the concept of a weekly ongoing narrative. But seriously, why get to the point in history where your main character is tragically killed off? And in the third episode, nonetheless. Then again, this is Disney, and they've never really been faithful to history, so who knows, maybe they all live in the end. Along the way, they meet two colorful characters. One is an ignorant and cowardly riverboat gambler, whose name is never mentioned, so I'm just going to call him Gay Clown. He's pretty much there to tag along with Davy for the novelty of being in his company, despite clearly demonstrating his lack of survival skills or ability to read the newspaper.
Texas independence threatened.
Now, I know nothing of this Texas of which you speak, but I do know the fury of the outraged minions of the law, and as a consequence, I fear what lies behind me far more than the unknown which lies ahead.
Dumbass!
The other is a Comanche Indian nicknamed Busted Luck, so named for being ousted from his tribe for not killing enough white men and accidentally tripping over stock footage of prairie dogs. Also, he suffers from Silent Bob syndrome. Neither one of them have much going for them in terms of character arcs, nor do they have much impact on the outcome of the story. Although I must admit, this scene did make me snicker.
Well, don't just stand there. Give me a hand.
Bite off more than you can chew, Davy?
Well, you might not look it, but he's a topple lot of Indian.
Eventually, the four are chased into the Alamo, where they meet up with the Texas settlers, led by Colonel Jim Bowie. Not that Bowie, that Bowie. Who gives them some rather grim news.
This miserable excuse of a fort is our last chance. If we can't hold Santa Ana here until Houston reorganizes our army, Texas is lost. But just between you and me, I want to tell you what we're up against. You know, we're practically encircled. And on top of that, we don't have enough rations left for a good-sized family dinner back home. Powder? Well, there's just about enough left for a turkey shoot. I don't have to tell you, Davy, that none of this goes outside this room.
Sure, Colonel. Ain't there any more Texans around?
Well, we've been sending messengers out. One did get back from Gonzales with 32 men. Now, there's a fair-sized force down at Goliad. We sent a courier out a few days ago, but I don't think he made it.
Got a fresh horse? I'll take a crack at getting through.
No, Davy, we need your breed of men here. Half horse, half alligator. We both know the amount of powder in the gun's not near as important as the spirit of the man behind the sights.
Half any battle's knowing you're going to win.
And the other half is to have the men and supplies to keep it going, you mook.
So Davy and friends join the brigade and manage to help hold off the Mexican army for a good couple of days. Unfortunately, as predicted, supplies run low and tempers fall short as Russell confronts Davy on their situation.
You know, we're sitting here like a bunch of treed possums. We're just about out of ammunition. There ain't no help coming.
No that since the day we got here. We're still holding out, ain't we?
Since the day we... You knowed it ever since then?
Girl asked me not to say anything about it to the men.
You knowed and you figured you couldn't trust me after all the tight ones we've been through? You couldn't trust me?
I thought what we had was special.
We're both wore out. Go get some sleep.
All right. From now on, it's every man for himself.
Everybody betrayed me. I fed up with this world.
Determined to get help, Russell volunteers to ride past the blockade and just barely manages to do so without getting killed. Days pass before he returns, only to tell Davy and the men that they're not receiving any help from the outside.
How many men are they going to send us from Goliad?
They can't spare us none.
So wait, if he was unable to get any of the men or resources, why the hell did he come back?
You tarnal idiot! You was safe in the clear. What'd you come back for?
Just got lonesome, I reckon.
You do know everyone is going to die now, right?
After breaking the news to Bowie, his second-in-command decides to give everyone in the fort an alternative.
General Santa Anna has nearly 5,000 men massed against us. Now, I can't force you beyond patriotism and your own conscience. While it's still dark, there's time to slip off to safety. I won't blame any man who doesn't stay. Those who stay, cross over the line.
And of course, in typical dumb patriotism, everyone crosses the line, including Davy, Russell, the sick colonel, and even the gambler? Why? What reason does he have for staying? I don't get the point of this character. They keep saying throughout the episode that he's a cowardly snake, yet he blindly follows Davy into the wilderness of Texas, past a Mexican army, and helps them fight on the front line. And it's not like he has an arc where he learns about bravery and self-sacrifice. He just up and decides to die with everyone else.
Tip to those who want to become writers. If you're gonna have a character that is a cowardly trickster, then make him a cowardly trickster!
So with everyone now willing to die to protect the fort, they all gather together one last time to reflect on life and sing songs.
The home I have loved as a father his child, the wife of my bosom, farewell to ye all in the land of the stranger. I rise or I fall. Farewell to the mountain whose mazes to me more beautiful far than Eden could be.
Oh god, this is so boring! Can we just skip to the part where they shoot each other? Thank you!
We finally get to the battle, and at first it seems that the settlers might actually be able to fend off the strangely white Mexican army. Unfortunately, history takes its course as the army pounds down the fort with their styrofoam cannonballs, and eventually breaks through the wall. Everyone inside is then killed. Russell, the colonel, Gay Clown, and even Busted Luck.
No! Not Gay Clown and Busted Luck! Oh, they were so essential to the plot!
If I had to give an award for the best death, though, it'd definitely go to Colonel Bowie. Check it. The dude shoots 2 people and then knifes a 3rd, all while lying down sick with a fever. Now that's badassery right there. Soon the only settler left alive is Davy, who continues to fight valiantly to the end. But of course, even the great Jesus like Davy Crockett can't possibly fend off a whole army and live, which is why they don't even show his death and just segue to the ending shot. Davy Crockett died from a cutaway.
So that was the adventures of Davy Crockett, king of the wild frontier. Does it hold up after 50 years? Not really.
I'm sorry, but after the first third, the film just gets boring. The political stuff is dull and uninteresting, and even the Alamo scene just seems padded out. Davy himself really isn't that interesting either, as he's basically a do-gooder who is infallible, always knows what to do, and always comes out on top. Russell is a more compelling character, and quite frankly, I find Buddy Ebsen's acting a lot better than Fess Parker, but his character seems to get sidelined a lot to make room for the glory that is Davy Crockett. The rest of the characters leave little to no impact on me, and usually have no purpose beyond getting Davy from point A to point B. However, I will admit I do see the appeal it did have back then. As mentioned, the first half of the movie is quite enjoyable despite the bad choreography and dated dialogue, mainly because it shows Davy on an actual adventure, fighting Indians and bandits like he should be doing. Had they actually stuck to that formula instead of showing a 3-part act of the real life of Davy Crockett, I'm sure this movie would have been a lot more entertaining and enjoyable. As a documentary, the movie does a decent job showing the history of Crockett, but as an entertaining TV show, it starts off strong but then dies off as it progresses. In fact, Walt Disney himself said that had he known Davy Crockett would be so popular, he wouldn't have killed him off so quickly, and possibly would have expanded his mythos with more action-adventure segments. He did later go on to make 2 more episodes, which sort of act as prequels to the first episodes, and again were later edited into a movie, Davy Crockett and the River Pirates. But by then I'm guessing interest had worn off, as no more Davy Crockett shorts or movies have been made since.
For what it is, the Davy Crockett franchise is an important part of Disney history and is one of their first big hit television shows. As a movie, it's okay. Boring, but okay. Join me next time in my hopefully new rabbit hole where we unearth more gems and bury more duds. I'm Ephraim T. TTFN, ta-ta for now.
Born on a mountaintop in Tennessee, green estate in the land of the free, raised in the woods so he knew every tree, killed him a bar when he was only 3. Davy Crockett, the buckskin pioneer. In 1813 the creeks uprose, adding redskin arrows to the country's woes. Now old Andy Jackson, as everybody knows, is the general they sent to fight the foes.